my name is Kristin Dowding. I'm the editor of Flea Market Decor magazine, and today I'm going to be giving you a tutorial on how to change the color of a piece without taking away its original character. And I'm going to do that with this fireplace mantle. I found this at a flea market. I instantly fell in love with it. It was the perfect size, the perfect shape, but unfortunately the original paint was pink, and that doesn't really work with my decor. Now also the surface is really crackly, which I love, gives it a lot of character, but the original paint has lead in it, so I was worried that over time, if the paint got chipped, that could be dangerous. So I'm going to be using Dixie Belle paint products to give it the color that I want and also make it a safe piece for me. I started by cleaning all of the dirt and grime off of the piece with white lightning cleaner. In order to seal in the toxic qualities of the lead, I painted it with Dixie Belle's Boss. It blocks odors, stains, and stops bleed through. And then my color for today is going to be Fluff. It's a nice off-white, kind of creamy, but not too new looking, so it'll still keep it looking vintage. I'm going to be using wax on it, so a clear coat is going to give me the surface that I need to work with in order to be able to play with the wax and get it into the cracks I want without staining the white, and I can move it where I want. To give you a quick reason why I'm not sanding down the piece and starting from scratch, because it has lead in it, sanding down the piece could make it airborne. Plus, I fell in love with its character, not just the piece itself. So sticking with the original paint and just painting over it is gonna be the way that I get the best of both worlds. So let's get started painting. So we're using, as a reminder, Dixie Belle Paint's Fluff. And for those of you that don't know, Dixie Belle paint is a chalk mineral paint. It has great coverage, and it also has 0 VOCs, which is why it's totally okay that I'm doing this indoors. So I'm just gonna start. So one thing that you'll notice is that I'm using my lid to paint. I don't wanna dip my brush directly into the entire jar because I don't wanna oversaturate it. You just wanna get a really thin layer on there so you can build layers and it doesn't get clumpy. Plus, I'm trying my best not to cover up the many little chippy portions, and that's gonna be the best way to do it. Generally, Dixie Belle Paint likes to say that with a lighter color, you wanna go with 2 to 3 coats of paint, and then with darker colors, you only need 1. That's how amazing this paint is. So the fact that I had the Boss on there before, I'll probably only need 1 layer of this white. I might go with 2, but I'm just gonna play it by ear, and once I'm finished, kind of assess from there. But it's looking really white to me. And then I'm actually gonna go back over these little chippy parts. If I'm getting any white in there, I'm gonna go back over it with a razor blade to give it back that natural brown. Welcome back. We are continuing with our next step in the process. I'm going to be using Dixie Belle Paint's Clear Coat Flat to give this a nice finish, not a glossy finish. I'm using a Dixie Belle Paint brush. It is a synthetic bristle brush. And what I wanna do is use long strokes with a thin layer to make sure that it's not going to be clumpy. And this brush is great for giving it a smooth finish. And one of the reasons that we're applying this clear coat is A, to make sure that the white paint is sealed in, it isn't gonna go anywhere. But then second, it's also going to be imperative to have this when I use the brown aged wax, because this is a chalk mineral paint, it's absorbent. So if I was to put a brown wax over it, it would completely soak in. So this clear coat is going to allow for a barrier between the wax and the paint and it's gonna let me control the wax more so I can put it where I want and move it around a bit. And you can see in certain lights that it's glossy as it goes on, but as it dries, it's going to be a matte finish, so it's not going to be glossy. And then once this dries, I'll be able to put the aged wax on. That's where the fun part's gonna come in, because that's gonna be where all the creativity is, deciding where it's gonna go. And I'm gonna try to get it into all of the remnants of the cracks that are left to really accentuate them. I'm back with the finishing step of this project. To quickly recap, the last time you saw me, I was going over the entire piece with a clear coat in flat. And I decided to test a little piece once it dried with the Best Dang brown wax, and it turns out the clear coat was a little too absorbent, more absorbent than I would like it to be. It was hard to move around the wax. So to counteract that, I decided to use a clear wax over the entire piece to act as a better barrier so that I can move around the pigmented wax easier. Now this would not have happened if I had used a clear coat in the satin or gloss, so keep that in mind if you're also doing this step. Now the clear wax, also as a barrier, I included it in the pigmented wax. I'm using the lid here from the Besting brown wax. I'm using it as a palette. So I just mixed in a little bit of the clear wax to help dilute the highly pigmented Besting brown wax. It's a little jar, but this stuff can go a long way, so you make sure to keep in mind to use very little of it. So I'm going to just dab it a little bit into the wax. I'm gonna get it on there. So you really wanna dig it into all of the nooks and crannies and all of the crevices. There are a lot of cracks on here that you probably can't see right now because the paint's covering it a little bit, but this wax is allowing it to get in all of those nooks and crannies and really accentuate it so that you can see the age of this piece. Then once I have it over a good area, this, I'm going to use a lint-free cloth. I'm using a microfiber towel here, but any lint-free cloth will work. I'm just going to rub over it, taking off the excess because you don't want it to be tacky. So this is just going to leave it in all of those little crevices, but it won't be all over the piece. That way you're seeing the cracks, but it doesn't look like the piece is dirty, which if you leave it, it can look like the piece is dirty. And then also if you have the preference, you can leave it if you want the piece to look like it's dirty. Because my goal here isn't to refurbish this piece entirely and make it look new. My goal here was to get a new color on a piece that still looks like it came straight from a flea market. There you go. So I'm going to finish up this piece and then I can't wait to show you how it looks.